What if respect wasn't something you had to chase, but something you could embody? What if the key to earning genuine admiration from others lay not in seeking their approval, but in mastering yourself? This is the essence of the Stoic approach to respect, a philosophy that teaches us to focus not on what others think of us, but on who we choose to become. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most respected Stoic thinkers, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This simple yet profound idea is at the heart of today's discussion. Respect, as the Stoics saw it, isn't something you can demand or earn through external validation. It's a natural byproduct of inner virtue, emotional resilience, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your own worth. In this video, we'll explore how Stoic principles like cognitive detachment, the power of presence, and unwavering self-mastery can help you embody respect without ever needing to chase it. These timeless ideas aren't just philosophical musings, they're practical tools for navigating the complexities of relationships, work, and self-worth in a world that often prioritizes approval over authenticity. So, if you've ever felt the pressure to conform or the frustration of not being seen for who you truly are, this is for you. Together, we'll uncover how Stoic wisdom can help you stand tall, grounded in your own values, and let respect find you, not the other way around. Respect begins within, not from others. This is a truth that Stoicism has emphasized for centuries, and it's as relevant today as it was in ancient times. At its core, self-respect isn't about seeking validation or approval from the outside world. It's about grounding yourself in your own values, your own principles, and your own sense of what's right. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential thinkers, put it simply: "We cannot control the external events around us, but we can always control how we respond to them." This idea is the foundation of self-respect. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't determined by what others think of you, but by how faithfully you live in alignment with what you believe to be true. Think about it in a modern context, say, your professional life. Imagine you're faced with a decision at work that could either earn you quick praise from your colleagues or align with your personal values. Maybe it's choosing between cutting corners to meet a deadline or taking the time to do the work properly, even if it means disappointing others. Stoicism would argue that self-respect lies in the latter choice. It's about prioritizing integrity over external approval, even when it's difficult. Because at the end of the day, the opinion that matters most is the one you hold of yourself. So here's a question to reflect on. How often do you prioritize your own values over others' opinions? It's easy to get caught up in the noise of what people expect from us, but Stoicism reminds us that true respect, the kind that matters, starts with how we treat ourselves. It's not about being indifferent to others, but about being unshakable in your commitment to your own principles. And when you live that way, something remarkable happens. Respect from others often follows, not because you sought it, but because you earned it by being authentically you. Why do we crave approval from people we don't even respect? It's a question worth sitting with for a moment. Think about it. How often do we bend ourselves out of shape, change our behavior, or suppress our true thoughts just to earn a nod of approval from someone whose opinion, deep down, doesn't even matter to us? The Stoics saw this as one of the great illusions of life, a trap that keeps us chasing something that will never truly fulfill us. They believed that seeking external validation is a futile pursuit because it places our happiness, our sense of self-worth, entirely in the hands of others. And when we do that, we give away our power. Seneca, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, warned about this very thing. He said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." What he meant was that our fear of judgment, our obsession with what others think, is often worse than the judgment itself. We imagine rejection, criticism, or disapproval, and it paralyzes us. But here's the truth: most of the time, those fears are just that, imaginary. And even when they're real, they don't have to define us. Take Cato the Younger, for example. He was a Roman statesman known for his unshakable integrity. At a time when political power often came at the cost of moral compromise, Cato refused to play the game. He didn't seek the approval of his peers, even when it meant losing influence or facing ridicule. His principles mattered more to him than popularity, and because of that, he earned something far more valuable: respect. Not the shallow, fleeting kind that comes from saying what people want to hear, but the deep, enduring respect that comes from standing firm in your values. So let's bring this back to you. What would change if you stopped seeking approval today? What if, instead of worrying about what others think, you focused on living in alignment with your own values? It's not easy. It takes courage to detach from the need for validation. But the freedom that comes with it, that's priceless. When you stop looking outward for approval, you start to discover something much more powerful: the ability to respect yourself. And that's where true respect from others begins. Respect is earned through presence, not performance. This is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, and it's a lesson that feels more relevant than ever in a world obsessed with appearances and outcomes. Stoicism teaches us that the way to command respect isn't by putting on a show or trying to prove our worth. It's about showing up fully, authentically, and with undivided attention to the moment at hand. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on the importance of staying grounded in the present. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. In other words, true respect comes from mastering your inner world and being fully present in your interactions, not from chasing external validation. Think about it. When was the last time you felt genuinely respected by someone? Chances are it wasn't because they were the loudest in the room or the most polished speaker. It was likely because they truly listened, made eye contact, and made you feel seen and valued. This is the power of presence. Leaders who earn respect aren't the ones constantly trying to assert their authority. They're the ones who listen deeply, respond thoughtfully, and remain calm under pressure. They don't need to perform because their authenticity speaks louder than any act ever could. Take a modern example. Imagine a leader in a high-stakes meeting. Instead of dominating the conversation or interrupting to assert their point, they sit back, listen intently, and ask thoughtful questions. Their presence alone commands respect because it signals confidence, humility, and a genuine interest in others. They're not trying to win approval, they're simply being fully present. So, here's a question to reflect on. When was the last time you truly listened without seeking to impress? It's a simple yet profound exercise in Stoic practice. By focusing on the present moment and letting go of the need to perform, you might just find that respect comes to you naturally, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it through the quiet power of being fully there. Have you ever noticed how people instinctively respect those who stay calm under pressure? It's as if their composure radiates a kind of quiet strength, drawing others toward them. This isn't just a coincidence, it's rooted in how we perceive emotional resilience. When someone can face challenges without crumbling, it signals a depth of character that commands admiration. And here's the thing, emotional resilience isn't something you're born with. It's a skill, one that Stoicism helps us cultivate through practices like negative visualization and cognitive reframing. Negative visualization, for instance, is about preparing your mind for adversity before it happens. By imagining worst-case scenarios and reflecting on how you'd handle them, you build a mental resilience that keeps you steady when life gets tough. Stoic philosopher Epictetus put it perfectly. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This simple yet profound idea reminds us that external events don't have the power to disturb us unless we allow them to. Let's bring this to life with a practical example. Imagine you're at work and you receive harsh criticism during a team meeting. Your initial reaction might be to feel defensive, maybe even angry. But what if instead you paused and reframed the situation? What if you saw the criticism not as a personal attack, but as an opportunity to grow? By responding with calmness and gratitude for the feedback, you demonstrate emotional resilience. Over time, this kind of response doesn't just earn you respect, it transforms how others perceive your character. So, here's a question to reflect on. How could emotional resilience change the way others see you? Think about the situations in your life where staying composed could shift the dynamic, whether at work, at home, or in your relationships. Because when you master the art of emotional resilience, you're not just reacting to life, you're shaping it, and in doing so, you become a magnet for respect. Why do we trust people who are consistent in their actions? Think about it for a moment. Whether it's a friend who always shows up when they say they will, or a leader who follows through on their promises, consistency builds trust. It's not just about reliability, it's about integrity. And in Stoicism, consistency is seen as a direct reflection of inner virtue. It's the alignment between what you believe and how you act, a harmony that proves your character isn't just for show. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most famous practitioners, often wrote about the importance of aligning your actions with your principles. He believed that true strength comes from living in accordance with your values, even when it's difficult or inconvenient. For him, consistency wasn't just a habit, it was a discipline, a way of proving to yourself and others that your inner world matches your outer behavior. This isn't about perfection, it's about effort. It's about showing up day after day as the person you claim to be. Let's bring this into a modern context. Think about the leaders you admire most. What sets them apart often? It's their ability to remain steady and true to their mission, even in the face of challenges. When a leader is consistent, they inspire loyalty and respect because people know what to expect. They don't waver based on convenience or public opinion. This kind of consistency creates a sense of stability and trust, qualities that are rare and deeply valued. Now, let's turn the focus inward. Are your actions consistent with your values, even when no one is watching? This is where Stoicism challenges us to look beyond external validation. It's easy to act in alignment with our principles when others are paying attention, but what about in those quiet, unseen moments? That's where true character is revealed. Consistency isn't just about building trust with others, it's about building trust with yourself. It's a way of honoring your own values, regardless of who's around to see it. So take a moment to reflect. Where in your life are you holding steady, and where might you be falling short? The virtue of consistency isn't about being flawless, it's about being intentional. It's about making choices that align with who you want to be, even when it's hard. And when you do that, you'll find that respect and trust follow, not because you sought them out, but because you earned them through the quiet, steady work of living your values. Respect grows when you stop needing it. This may sound counterintuitive, but it's a powerful truth rooted in Stoic philosophy. The Stoics teach us that the more we cling to the need for approval or validation, the more we undermine our own sense of self-worth and respectability. Instead, they advocate for detachment from outcomes, focusing on what we can control and letting go of what we cannot. As Seneca wisely put it, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. In other words, much of our anxiety stems from worrying about results that are ultimately beyond our influence. Take Socrates, for example. His life was a masterclass in this principle. Despite facing immense public scrutiny and even condemnation, he remained steadfast in his commitment to truth and virtue. He didn't chase the approval of the masses or fear their disapproval. Instead, he focused on living authentically, guided by his principles rather than the shifting tides of public opinion. His indifference to outcomes didn't make him reckless, it made him unshakable. And in that unshakable stance, he earned not just respect, but a legacy that endures to this day. So, what would your life look like if you weren't attached to the outcome? Imagine making decisions not out of fear of failure or a desperate need for approval, but from a place of clarity and purpose. What risks would you take? What boundaries would you set? The beauty of this Stoic approach is that it frees you to act with integrity, regardless of how others might respond. It's not about ignoring results entirely, but about recognizing that your effort, your intention, and your character are what truly matter. Detaching from outcomes doesn't mean giving up on your goals. It means giving up on the need for those goals to define your worth. When you focus on doing your best rather than obsessing over the reception, you cultivate a quiet confidence that naturally commands respect. And isn't that a far more sustainable way to live than constantly seeking validation from others? Can true respect exist without humility? This question might seem simple, but it cuts to the core of what it means to earn genuine respect. Stoicism teaches us that humility is far from a sign of weakness. It's a profound strength, born out of self-awareness and a clear understanding of our place in the world. Think about it. Humility doesn't mean diminishing yourself or shrinking away. Instead, it's about acknowledging your limitations while still striving to grow. It's about knowing that no matter how much you achieve, there's always more to learn, more to understand, and more ways to contribute. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential thinkers, often spoke about the importance of recognizing our limitations. He believed that true freedom comes from understanding what is within our control and what isn't. When we embrace humility, we stop wasting energy on trying to control the uncontrollable. Instead, we focus on what we can improve: our actions, our mindset, and our character. This kind of self-awareness doesn't make us small. It makes us grounded, approachable, and ultimately more respected. Take a modern example. Think about the leaders you admire most. Chances are, the ones who stand out aren't the ones who constantly demand attention or flaunt their achievements. They're the ones who lead with quiet confidence, who listen more than they speak, and who aren't afraid to admit when they're wrong. These are the leaders who earn respect not because they demand it, but because they embody humility in their actions. They show us that true power isn't about dominance, it's about connection, understanding, and a willingness to grow. So, how does humility show up in your daily interactions? It might be in the way you handle criticism, the way you celebrate others' successes, or even the way you approach challenges with an open mind. Humility isn't about being perfect, it's about being real. And in a world that often rewards loudness over substance, choosing humility is a quiet but powerful act of strength. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. In a world that often rewards the loudest voice in the room, Stoicism offers a different perspective, one that values the power of restraint and the quiet strength of thoughtful silence. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most respected Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "You don't have to turn this into something, it doesn't have to upset you." These words remind us that not every situation requires a reaction, and sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Silence isn't weakness, it's a deliberate choice, a form of self-control that commands respect. Think about the last time you found yourself in a heated argument. Emotions were high, words were flying, and in the heat of the moment, it probably felt like the only way to be heard was to speak louder. But what if, instead of adding fuel to the fire, you chose to step back and remain silent? That silence can be disarming. It can shift the energy of the conversation, giving both you and the other person a moment to pause, reflect, and recalibrate. In that stillness, you demonstrate a level of self-mastery that speaks volumes about your character far more than any clever retort ever could. So, when have you regretted speaking instead of listening? It's a question worth reflecting on because we've all been there. Maybe it was a moment where you felt the need to defend yourself, only to realize later that your words only escalated the tension. Or perhaps it was a time when you interrupted someone, only to miss out on what they were truly trying to say. Silence isn't just about holding back, it's about creating space for understanding, for connection, and for respect. It's a reminder that not every thought needs to be voiced, and not every emotion needs to be expressed in the moment. Stoicism teaches us that silence is a tool, a way to protect our inner peace and maintain our dignity, even in the face of conflict. It's not about avoiding confrontation, but about choosing when and how to engage. By embracing silence, we show that we value clarity over chaos, and that we're willing to listen before we speak. And in doing so, we earn something far more valuable than approval. We earn respect. Respect often comes to those who dare to stand apart. It's a truth that echoes through history and resonates in our lives today. Stoicism teaches us that embracing our individuality isn't just an act of self-expression, it's a profound act of courage. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, wrote extensively about the importance of living authentically, even when it means going against the grain. He believed that true freedom lies in being unshackled by others' opinions, in choosing to live by our own principles rather than seeking approval from the crowd. Think about the innovators of our time, people like Elon Musk or Marie Curie. They didn't conform to the expectations of their eras. Instead, they challenged the status quo, pursued their visions, and ultimately earned respect not because they sought it, but because they stayed true to themselves. Stoicism reminds us that fear of judgment often holds us back from greatness. But when we let go of that fear, we unlock the potential to create, to lead, and to inspire. So, here's a question to reflect on. What would you do differently if you weren't afraid of being judged? What bold steps could you take if you stopped worrying about what others might think? The Stoics would argue that the only real failure is failing to live authentically. And when we embrace that truth, respect naturally follows not as a goal, but as a byproduct of our courage to be different. How does gratitude influence how others see us? It's a question worth exploring, especially when we consider how much our attitude shapes the way we're perceived. Stoicism teaches us that gratitude is more than just a polite gesture. It's a powerful tool for cultivating respect and fostering deeper connections. By shifting our focus from what we lack to what we already have, gratitude helps us embody a sense of abundance and contentment. This mindset naturally draws others toward us, as it reflects a person who values what they have rather than constantly chasing what they don't. Epictetus once said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that gratitude isn't about ignoring life's challenges, it's about finding value in the present moment, even amidst difficulty. When we practice gratitude, we radiate a sense of inner stability and appreciation that others can't help but notice. It's a subtle but impactful way to earn respect, not by demanding it, but by embodying a mindset that inspires admiration. Take the workplace, for example. Imagine a colleague who consistently acknowledges the efforts of others, whether it's a simple thank you for a small task or a genuine note of appreciation for a team's hard work. Over time, that person builds trust and respect because their gratitude demonstrates humility and an awareness of others' contributions. It's not about grand gestures, it's about recognizing the value in the people and opportunities around us. So, who could you thank today to strengthen your relationships? Whether it's a friend, a family member, or even a coworker, expressing gratitude is a small act that can have a ripple effect. It not only shifts your own perspective, but also leaves a lasting impression on those around you. Gratitude, as the Stoics understood, is a quiet but powerful way to live with intention and to earn the respect of others without ever seeking their approval. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's a source of respect. This might sound counterintuitive, especially in a world that often equates strength with invulnerability. But Stoicism teaches us that true power lies in embracing our humanity, not hiding it. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most revered Stoic thinkers, often reflected on the importance of acknowledging our imperfections. He didn't see them as flaws to be ashamed of, but as opportunities to grow, connect, and lead with authenticity. In his meditations, he wrote about the value of humility and self-awareness, reminding us that even an emperor is still human. Think about it, when someone admits their mistakes openly, doesn't that command more respect than someone who pretends to have all the answers? Leaders who show vulnerability, whether it's acknowledging a misstep, asking for help, or simply admitting they don't have it all figured out, often earn deeper trust and loyalty from those around them. Take modern examples like CEOs who have publicly owned up to failures and used those moments to pivot and improve their companies. Their honesty doesn't diminish their authority, it enhances it. This Stoic principle isn't just for leaders, though. It's for anyone who wants to build genuine connections. When we allow ourselves to be seen, imperfections and all, we create space for others to do the same. It's in those moments of shared vulnerability that respect and understanding flourish. So, here's a question to reflect on. When have you gained respect by being vulnerable? Maybe it was a time you admitted you were wrong, asked for support, or simply showed up as your true self. Those moments, as uncomfortable as they might feel, are often where real strength is born. Respect is earned through self-control, not indulgence. This simple yet profound truth lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy, which teaches that mastering our desires and impulses is the key to living a life of dignity and integrity. The Stoics believed that true freedom comes not from doing whatever we want, but from controlling what we want in the first place. As Seneca once said, the greatest empire is to be emperor of oneself. This idea isn't just about denying ourselves pleasure. It's about aligning our actions with our values so that we act with purpose rather than reacting to fleeting emotions or external pressures. Take Cato the Younger, for example, a Roman senator whose unyielding commitment to his principles made him a symbol of Stoic virtue. Even in the face of immense political pressure and personal danger, Cato refused to compromise his integrity. His self-control wasn't just about saying no to temptation, it was about saying yes to something greater, his unwavering sense of duty and honor. People respected him not because he sought their approval, but because they could see the strength of his character in every decision he made. So, where could greater self-control improve how others see you? Maybe it's in those moments when you feel the urge to lash out in anger or frustration. Or perhaps it's when you're tempted to take the easy path instead of the right one. Every time you choose to act with discipline, you're not just building self-respect, you're also showing others that you're someone they can trust and admire. Self-control isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about making small, consistent choices that reflect who you want to be, rather than letting your impulses define you. By cultivating this discipline, you're not just earning respect, you're embodying the kind of person who inspires it, and that's a legacy worth striving for. What does it mean to live with integrity? At its core, integrity is about being whole, aligning your actions, words, and choices with your deepest values, no matter the circumstances. Stoicism teaches us that integrity isn't just a virtue, it's the very foundation of respect. When you live with integrity, you demonstrate consistency, honesty, and authenticity, qualities that naturally earn the admiration and trust of others. Think about it. Respect isn't something you can demand or manipulate. It's something you cultivate by being true to yourself and your principles. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's greatest teachers, emphasized the importance of aligning your actions with your values. He believed that true freedom comes from living in harmony with your own moral compass, not from seeking approval or bending to external pressures. In his words, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. This simple yet profound idea reminds us that integrity isn't about perfection, it's about intention. It's about making choices that reflect who you aspire to be, even when no one is watching. Consider a modern example: ethical leaders in business or public service. These are individuals who prioritize doing what's right over what's easy or convenient. They don't cut corners or compromise their values for short-term gains. Instead, they build trust through their unwavering commitment to fairness, transparency, and accountability. Their integrity becomes their legacy, inspiring others to follow their example. It's a powerful reminder that respect isn't about titles or authority. It's about the quiet, consistent practice of living by your principles. So here's a question to reflect on. Are your actions aligned with your deepest values? Do you make decisions based on what's right, or do you find yourself swayed by the opinions of others or the fear of judgment? Integrity isn't always easy. It requires courage, self-awareness, and a willingness to stand firm in your convictions. But the rewards are immense. When you live with integrity, you not only earn respect from others, but you also cultivate a profound sense of self-respect. And that, in the Stoic view, is the ultimate measure of a life well lived. Respect grows when we truly understand the perspectives of others, when we see the world through their eyes, not just our own. This is where Stoicism offers a surprising yet profound insight. Empathy isn't just a feel-good virtue. It's a powerful tool for building respect and strengthening connections. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's greatest thinkers, once wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own." What he's saying here is that even in the face of difficult behavior, we can choose to see the shared humanity in others. This perspective shifts everything. Instead of reacting with frustration or judgment, we can approach others with understanding. Think about a time when you've been in a conflict, maybe a heated argument with a friend or a coworker. It's easy to dig in, to focus on being right, or to let pride take over. But what if instead you paused and asked yourself, why might they be acting this way? What's going on beneath the surface? That simple act of empathy can transform the dynamic. You might realize that their anger isn't about you at all. It's coming from a place of stress, fear, or misunderstanding. And when you respond with compassion rather than defensiveness, something remarkable happens. Respect grows. Empathy doesn't mean agreeing with everyone or letting others walk all over you. It's about acknowledging their humanity, even when it's hard. Imagine a coworker who constantly criticizes your ideas. Instead of shutting down or firing back, what if you took a moment to consider their perspective? Maybe they're feeling insecure about their own contributions, or perhaps they're under pressure to deliver results. When you approach them with curiosity rather than confrontation, you create space for a more constructive conversation. And in doing so, you earn their respect by showing that you value their experience, even if you don't share their view. So, here's a question to reflect on. How could empathy change your relationships? Whether it's with a family member, a colleague, or even a stranger, practicing empathy allows you to connect on a deeper level. It's not about being perfect or always getting it right. It's about making the effort to understand. And in that effort, you'll find that respect isn't something you have to demand. It's something that naturally grows when you show others that you truly see them. Respect is earned by how we respond, not react. This simple yet profound truth lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. Stoicism teaches us that our power doesn't come from controlling what happens to us, but from how we choose to respond to it. Instead of allowing emotions to dictate our actions, we're encouraged to pause, reflect, and act with intention. As Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This principle reminds us that external events, whether praise, criticism, or chaos, are outside our control. What we can control is our inner state and our response. Imagine this: someone criticizes you in a meeting. Your first instinct might be to defend yourself or fire back with a sharp remark. But what if instead you took a breath and chose to listen? What if you responded with curiosity rather than defensiveness? This act of non-reactivity doesn't mean you're passive or indifferent. It means you're choosing to act from a place of strength, not impulsiveness. You're showing that you value understanding over winning an argument and respect over ego. Consider how this approach could transform your daily interactions. When you pause before reacting, you create space for clarity. You give yourself the opportunity to respond in a way that aligns with your principles, rather than being swept away by emotion. Non-reactivity isn't about suppressing feelings, it's about channeling them thoughtfully. It's a skill that builds trust, earns respect, and strengthens relationships. So, how could non-reactivity improve your interactions? What might change if you approach challenging moments not as threats, but as opportunities to practice calm and intentional responses? Why do boundaries command respect? It's a question worth exploring, especially when we consider how often we sacrifice our own peace to avoid conflict or to please others. Stoicism offers a powerful perspective here. Setting boundaries isn't just about saying no, it's about honoring your own worth. Think about it this way: when you establish clear limits, you're not being selfish or rigid. You're showing that you value your time, energy, and mental well-being. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most influential thinkers, often wrote about the importance of safeguarding your inner peace. He believed that a life without boundaries is a life at the mercy of others' demands. By setting limits, you reclaim control over your own life, and that's where true respect begins, both from others and for yourself. Take a modern example. Imagine a coworker constantly asking you to take on extra tasks, even when your plate is already full. Saying no might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's not just about refusing the task, it's about respecting your own capacity and time. When you set that boundary, you're not only protecting your energy, but also signaling to others that your time is valuable. Over time, this consistency builds respect. People begin to understand that you're someone who knows their limits and isn't afraid to stand by them. So, where do you need stronger boundaries in your life? Is it at work, in your relationships, or even with yourself, like cutting back on distractions that drain your focus? The beauty of Stoicism is that it reminds us boundaries aren't walls to keep others out. They're bridges to a more balanced, respectful way of living. When you set them with clarity and confidence, you're not just protecting your peace, you're cultivating a life where respect flows naturally, both to you and from you. Patience is a quiet form of respect. It's not just about waiting, it's about how you wait. Stoicism teaches us that patience is a reflection of inner strength, a way to demonstrate mastery over our impulses and emotions. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This is the essence of patience, the ability to endure challenges with grace without letting frustration or haste dictate your actions. Think about a situation where patience could make all the difference, like waiting for the right opportunity. Imagine you're working toward a promotion, but the timing isn't right. Instead of rushing or becoming resentful, you focus on improving your skills and contributing to your team. Over time, your consistent effort and calm demeanor will speak volumes. People notice when someone handles delays with composure. It's a sign of maturity and self-assurance. Patience doesn't mean passivity. It's about understanding that some things are beyond your control, and that's okay. When you embody this mindset, you not only earn respect but also inspire it in others. So, here's a question to reflect on. How could patience change how others see you? Could it shift their perception of you as someone grounded, reliable, and worthy of admiration? The answer might surprise you. Respect grows when we know ourselves deeply. It's a truth that Stoicism has long emphasized, reminding us that the foundation of genuine respect both from others and for ourselves begins with self-awareness. The Stoics believed that regular self-reflection is essential for aligning our actions with our values, ensuring that we live with integrity and purpose. As Epictetus once said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. This simple yet profound idea underscores the importance of looking inward before taking action in the world. So, how do we practice this kind of self-reflection? It starts with creating space to pause and examine our thoughts, decisions, and behaviors. Think of it as a daily check-in with yourself, a moment to ask, am I living in accordance with my principles? Am I being the person I aspire to be? For the Stoics, this wasn't just an occasional exercise. It was a disciplined habit, a way of life. And in our modern world, one of the most effective tools for this practice is journaling. Writing down your thoughts, challenges, and victories can help you gain clarity, spot patterns, and stay grounded in what truly matters to you. Imagine this: at the end of a long day, you sit down with a notebook and reflect on a difficult conversation you had. Instead of replaying it with frustration, you ask yourself, what part did I play in this? How could I have responded differently? What did this situation reveal about my values? This kind of honest, intentional reflection isn't about self-criticism, it's about growth. It's about understanding who you are, why you act the way you do, and how you can move closer to your ideal self. The beauty of self-reflection is that it's deeply personal. What works for one person might not work for another. For some, it's journaling. For others, it might be meditation, long walks, or even conversations with a trusted friend. The key is to find a method that allows you to connect with yourself authentically. And as you do, you'll likely notice something remarkable. The more you understand yourself, the more confidently you can navigate the world. You'll act with greater intention, speak with more conviction, and carry yourself with a quiet strength that others can't help but respect. So let's take a moment to reflect. What have you learned about yourself through self-reflection? What patterns or values have you uncovered? And how has this practice shaped the way you show up in your relationships, your work, and your life? These questions aren't just food for thought, they're invitations to deepen your understanding of yourself and, in turn, cultivate the kind of respect that comes from living authentically. Respect often comes to those who stand alone. It's a truth that Stoicism has long championed, teaching us the immense value of independence and self-reliance. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, often wrote about the courage it takes to follow your own path, even when it means walking away from the crowd. He believed that true strength lies not in seeking approval but in trusting your inner compass, even when it points you in a direction others might not understand. Think of the pioneers throughout history, those who dared to challenge norms and carve out new ways of thinking. People like Rosa Parks, who refused to give up her seat on a bus, or Elon Musk, who continues to push the boundaries of technology despite countless skeptics. These individuals didn't wait for permission or validation. They stood alone, not out of arrogance, but out of a deep conviction in their principles and vision. And in doing so, they earned not just respect, but a lasting legacy. Stoicism reminds us that standing alone doesn't mean isolating yourself. It's about staying true to your values even when it's uncomfortable. It's about recognizing that the approval of others is fleeting, but the respect you gain from staying authentic is enduring. So let me ask you this: what would you do if you weren't afraid to stand alone? What bold step would you take if the fear of judgment no longer held you back? Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to stand firm in your truth, even when the world seems to be moving in the opposite direction. How can challenges earn us respect? At first glance, it might seem counterintuitive. After all, struggles often feel like obstacles, not opportunities. But Stoicism teaches us that adversity is one of the most powerful tools for building character and earning the respect of others. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the challenges we face aren't just barriers, they're pathways to growth, strength, and ultimately respect. Think about it this way: when someone handles a difficult situation with grace, resilience, and determination, it leaves a lasting impression. People notice, they see the courage it takes to face hardship head-on, and they admire it. It's not about winning or avoiding failure, it's about how you respond when things don't go as planned. Take, for example, a professional setback. Maybe you lose a job or face criticism at work. In that moment, it's easy to feel defeated or to lash out in frustration. But what if instead you chose to see it as an opportunity to learn, to improve, and to demonstrate your ability to rise above the situation? That kind of response doesn't just build self-respect, it earns the respect of others too. So, what challenge could you reframe as an opportunity for growth? It doesn't have to be a major life event. Sometimes the smallest struggles, like a disagreement with a friend or a project that didn't go as expected, can be the perfect chance to practice Stoic principles. The key is to shift your perspective. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" When you approach life this way, you're not just surviving challenges, you're thriving because of them. And that's how adversity becomes a source of strength, character, and respect. Respect grows when we let go of what we can't control. This simple yet profound truth lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics understood that clinging to outcomes or external validation only leads to frustration and diminishes our ability to act with dignity. Instead, they taught us to focus on what's within our power, our thoughts, actions, and choices, while releasing our grip on the rest. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic thinkers, put it this way: "Some things are within our power while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, and aversion. In a word, whatever is of our own doing. Outside our power are our body, property, reputation, and office. In a word, whatever is not of our own doing." This distinction is key. When we pour energy into trying to control what's beyond us, we not only waste time but also undermine our self-respect. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine you've poured months into a project at work, only to see it fail despite your best efforts. It's natural to feel disappointment, maybe even embarrassment. But here's where Stoicism offers clarity. Instead of fixating on the failure or seeking approval from others, you can choose to focus on what you learned, how you grew, and the effort you put in, things entirely within your control. By releasing the need for a specific outcome, you free yourself to move forward with confidence, and in doing so, you earn the respect of those around you. So here's a question to reflect on. What do you need to let go of to earn more respect? Is it the need for validation, the fear of failure, or the desire to control every outcome? Letting go isn't about giving up. It's about reclaiming your power and aligning your energy with what truly matters. So, what does it truly mean to live with self-respect, emotional resilience, and unwavering presence? These are the pillars we've explored today, foundations of Stoic philosophy that teach us how to earn respect not by seeking approval, but by cultivating inner virtue. It's about recognizing that true respect comes from within, from the way we carry ourselves, the values we uphold, and the strength we demonstrate in the face of challenges. When we stop chasing external validation and start living authentically, we naturally inspire others to see and honor our worth. As Seneca once said, "The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today." This reminds us that respect isn't something we earn by waiting for others to notice us or by bending ourselves to fit their expectations. It's about seizing the present moment, living in alignment with our principles, and letting our actions speak louder than words. When we focus on being the best version of ourselves, grounded, composed, and virtuous, respect follows naturally, not as a goal, but as a byproduct of our way of being. Now it's your turn to reflect. How can you apply these Stoic principles in your own life? Where are you seeking validation that could be replaced with self-assurance? And how can you strengthen your emotional resilience to navigate life's ups and downs with grace? Take a moment to think about how you can embody these ideas in your daily interactions, whether at work, at home, or in your personal growth. If this resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe for more insights on living a life guided by Stoic wisdom. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. What does earning respect through inner virtue mean to you? Share your reflections in the comments below. Let's continue this journey together, one step at a time, toward a life of authenticity, strength, and